So today we're going to be taking a look at the Marvel Legends Spider-Man 2 Miles Morales Boricua Suit from Hasbro. This figure in particular caught my eye because I am both Puerto Rican and Ecuadorian, so of course just really cool to get this figure in the line. So let's not waste any time and let's get right into it. So right in front of the box, you could see this figure does follow the typical Marvel Legends box with the more rectangular design, and of course you have your window showing you all the accessories. This figure does come with some extra hands, but also a web accessory that's hidden behind here, so that's really cool. Of course, down here you have Spider-Man 2, Gamerverse, Hasbro, and then Miles Morales Boricua Suit. Right on the side, you get a nice image directly from the game of Miles in this suit. On the back, something that I really love that they're doing is this menu screen is directly from the game, and it shows you the other figures in the line, which is just a really cool way to show all the figures. On this side, you get a nice little window to allow some light in for the figure. You have Miles Morales Boricua Suit once again, and of course a little image of Miles himself, just as shown here. On the top, you have Gamerverse, and on the bottom, you have all your legal information and your barcode. You could scan that if you'd like. And yeah, so pretty nice box. Let's go ahead and let's open up Miles Morales. Real quick before we go ahead and fully open up Miles Morales, I just want to show you how everything looks immediately out of the box. So the box itself does have a nice backdrop of the white spider that Peter Parker does have on his suit. And then of course the figure itself, all of its accessories are taped down and there isn't any back tray. So you could just take the figure out of this plastic tray itself. So let's not waste any time and let's open them up. So here is Miles Morales right out of the packaging, and he looks really good. I just love the paint that they did on this figure. The paint has like a very nice matte finish, which is kind of surprising because a lot of their other figures look really shiny immediately out of the box, but this one looks amazing. But before we get more into him, let's take a look at all the accessories that he comes with. So the first accessory that he comes with are going to be these splayed out hands or wall crawling hands. Of course, with Spider-Man figures, you can use these for anything you like. They look really nice, and I really love the web lines. They are painted well, and I don't really see too many errors, so really good. The next set of hands you're going to get are going to be thwipping hands. Of course, these are necessary for a Spider-Man figure. If you don't come with these, I mean, it's not really a Spider-Man figure. So really cool here. Again, great paint and very nice detail. Really cool. The final accessory, though, is a bit odd, I'd say, because it's this web accessory, but it's like it's sculpted in such a specific way. The edge kind of has like a little curl to it, and this side it can kind of be like held on by a figure, but he doesn't really come with a hand to grasp onto this piece, and it isn't wired, so I don't really know what exactly you could do with this. It's cool that you get a web accessory because a lot of standard Spider-Man figures don't come with it, but I don't really know what you could do with this. If you have an idea, let me know in the comments, but I mean, it's nicely sculpted at least. Now let's move on to Miles Morales. As I mentioned before, I love the paint and the matte finish because it really just makes the figure pop out. The bright red, the blue, and the white just looks amazing. And of course, the upper torso is the Puerto Rican flag, but it just looks really nice, and it'll definitely pop out in kind of any pose you have him in. So I absolutely love that. And then in addition to the paint, it is like very nicely sculpted. You could kind of see on the blue part of the flag, you have the raised web lines, which is also on the mask itself, which is really nice. Very nice detail all around. Of course, the rest of the body is just a flat black paint, and there isn't any detail as far as sculpt, but that flag really does bring everything out of this figure. But now let's look at the articulation. So the head can look up about that much, which is pretty great for a Spider-Man figure. He can look up a pretty good amount. And then looking underneath the head, you probably can't see it on camera, but it is a ball joint. There isn't a hinge, I don't believe, so you don't get as much movement as like Maximum Spider-Man, but you still get some pretty good movement. As far as looking down, he can look down about that much. Of course, left and right. And personally, the head, like the way I feel it, it kind of feels a little loose. It doesn't feel like it's just gonna pop off, but it does feel a little loose, so I don't know, it might just be my copy. Moving on to the arm, he does have a butterfly joint, which can move forward and back about that much, which is pretty good. Not that bad. The arm can go up very much, which is great. Can get about that high, way more than a T-pose. Of course, you do get bicep swivel. You do have a double hinged elbow, which you do kind of have to force, but again, you get amazing movement there. Could completely put his arm together, which is great. Then at the wrist, you do get in and out, and of course rotation. And of course on the figure itself, you do get 2 fist hands. So pretty cool. Same thing on the other side. It looks like this butterfly joint might be stuck. Yeah, that's stuck. Ooh, okay, might have to heat that up. My butterfly joint is stuck, so just be careful if you get this figure that you don't force anything. But the arm itself also kind of can't get further than a T. Wow. So his right arm definitely needs to be heated up. You definitely want to be careful because my joints seem to be really stuck. But the elbow can, of course, get all the way, so the elbow is fine. Then, of course, at the wrist, you get your ball joint and, of course, swivel. So pretty good arm articulation. I do recommend, though, just being careful with your figure. His left arm is absolutely perfect. It can move anywhere you want, but the right arm is a bit stuck on mine, so just be careful. Now, he does have a upper ball joint at his upper torso, so he can go all the way around. And then, of course, down here, he can bend about that much with that hinge. So that's actually really good crunch, really good. And then backwards, again, really good. So some really good torso articulation. I absolutely love everything we're getting. And I just opened like the Maximum Spider-Man, so whenever I move him, I'm comparing him to that. And the articulation almost is like on par with that figure, minus maybe the butterfly joints, but some really great upper articulation. Moving on to the legs, he can kick out about that much, so he can't do a perfect split, but that's all right. He can kick out forward all the way, which is great. And not much back because of the sculpt, of course, but about that much if you're going to try to force it. He does have thigh swivel. He does have double jointed knees, which go all the way far so he could kick his own butt. And then he does have an upper ankle swivel, which is great. And then, of course, didn't mean to drop him, but moving back to the feet, he can move up about that much at the ankle and down about that much, which is incredible. Of course, he has rotation and pivot. Now, of course, I would have liked some toe joints. Maybe instead of this web accessory, we could have got some toe joints, but it is what it is. Looking on the other side, he can kick all the way out, back about that much, and kick out. Of course, you can't do a split, but pretty decent articulation. You get a thigh swivel, double hinged knee, upper ankle swivel, and of course at the ankles you could go down, up, rotation, and then pivot. So some pretty good articulation all around. I would have definitely loved some toe joints. I feel like every Spider-Man figure should come with that, but pretty great all around. The articulation is almost on par with like the Maximum Spider-Man. The one thing though is definitely be careful with some of the joints because his right arm is just completely stuck. I'm gonna have to heat that up and mess around with it so it can move a little bit more. But of course I do think that varies on copy to copy of the figure, but just be careful when you get yours. But now let's go ahead and take a look at some comparisons. I'll pose him up and we'll see how he looks. First up here is Boricua Miles Morales with the Maximum Spider-Man, and of course they're gonna look great together. You're gonna have a whole lot of fun posing Miles and Peter, and I just can't wait to make a really cool display with them both. Next up here is Boricua Miles Morales with the Spider-Man 2 Miles Morales, and of course you can see that this new figure really does look a lot better in my opinion. I do feel like Spider-Man 2, while it was accurate, it made Miles look a lot more skinnier and lankier. And I understand, you know, it is kind of accurate, but I just really like this new figure and it just looks a lot cooler and has a lot more shelf presence in my opinion. Next up here is Boricua Miles Morales with Maximum Hulk. And of course, it just looks really cool to have these big figures next to these smaller figures. I just personally love it. Of course, they never really fought in the games, but it's still a cool thing. And if you want to pose your figures like that, go ahead. It's awesome. Finally, here is Boricua Miles Morales with Venom, and of course, they look amazing together. Of course, these are both from the Spider-Man 2 game line, and it's just really cool to have these two posed up together, and I can't wait to make like a whole scene of Peter and Miles fighting Venom. It's just gonna look awesome. Before we go ahead and move on to my final thoughts, I just want to show you that this Miles Morales does actually have holes in his bicep, which is actually for web wings. So if you have any web wings with any of your other Spider-Man, or maybe you just have some laying around, you can actually use them with this figure, which is pretty cool. So what do I think about the Marvel Legends Spider-Man 2 Miles Morales Boricua Suit from Hasbro? This is definitely an amazing figure, and I absolutely love everything they did with this figure. Originally, I thought that they were just going to use the original Spider-Man 2 body for this figure, and of course they didn't, which is absolutely amazing. I love the presence this guy has on the shelf, and as I mentioned before, the paint, the matte finish is just absolutely amazing and really brings out the amazing detail with this figure. Of course, if you're someone that finds this figure interesting, I'm definitely recommending to go get it. There's nothing really bad about it other than you just want to be careful with certain joints. I don't really think anything will break, but some joints can be tighter than others. But overall, detail, articulation, and overall just shelf presence is all there and all 10 out of 10. So I definitely recommend it. If you guys already have this figure, let me know what you think about it down in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.